So this video is going to work through some triangle congruence theorems to help support the video that you worked on from Friday in class. So corresponding parts, we don't really need all 6 things to prove that these triangles are congruent. And what we're going to do in this video is work through what would suffice, what 3 pieces we will need in order to say that something is congruent. So our first option is if all 3 sides are congruent, the triangles are congruent. The next one is if there is a side, an included angle, and a second side. So you'll notice that angle A here has been included in between the single tick mark and the double tick mark. Same thing here with angle D, it's included in between the single and the double tick mark. So here, the included angle in between sides, our goal is to determine which angle it would be. For this first picture, if I work on connecting where these 2 sides meet, it would be angle G. For this center example, where those 2 tick mark sides meet is angle I. And for this final example, where these 2 sides meet is angle H. So there's angle G, there you see angle I, and here you see angle H. The next option we have for proving triangles congruent is angle side angle. This means that the side is now the included piece in between those 2 angles. So you'll see single tick mark angle, side, double tick mark angle. Same thing over here. So here, my included side in between those 2 angles is GI. Here, my included side would be HI. And here, my included side would be GH. We also have angle side. So this means that it is a non-included side. So I have 2 angles, and then the side will only be attached to one of those angles, as you see down here. So now my goal is to determine if these triangles are congruent. Well, I have side AC here, which has a single tick mark, which would be side DB on our other triangle with a single tick mark. I have an included angle, and so since the angle is included, I'm thinking side angle side. So I have EA and FD being congruent, angle D and angle A, and then side AC and side DB. So here, looking at these, I only have angle tick marks, and it's very clear that size-wise these are not the same. So angle, angle, angle does not count as a congruence theorem. That is a similarity theorem. So this is not congruent. All right. Again, we can see here that in triangle ADB and in triangle ACB, both of them have angle A, both have side AB, but these 2 sides, although they may be congruent, very clearly don't make the same triangle. So I cannot use side-side angle or angle side-side, those are not valid. I like to say, if you turn this word around right here, side-side angle, you'd be saying a not so nice word to me, and you're not allowed to say words like that in class. So that's a no-go. That's a no-no list congruence theorem. Again, here's another example. These green sides are congruent, but very clearly those two triangles are not congruent. All right, so let's see. Looking at this example, I have a side, an angle, and an angle, which correspond to the same angles on the other side and the other side. So I'm going to say yes, this is an angle side congruence. So give these a try. See if you can name what congruence theorem would match which each of these. Or if it's not congruent, state that as well. So pause and then come back and double check. So that first one would be side, angle, side, because the angle is included. Here the side is included between two angles. This has an angle side, side, so that's not good. So that would be no. And this would be side, side, side. Again, trying some on your own. First one is all angles. That's no good. Second one is angle, side, angle. That one's totally fine. Here we have side, angle, side, so that's good. And here I have angle, side, side, or side, side, angle, and that is no good. All right, some other things we can do. Vertical angles, we know we can add tick marks to vertical angles because vertical angles are congruent. And then if we're sharing a side in a triangle, we can say it's congruent to itself. That's called the reflexive property. So I could put a tick mark here on CD. So here, I could add some tick marks. I could add a tick mark here. I could add a tick mark on these two angles. I could add a tick mark on these two angles. And I could add a tick mark on this side. So there's my shared side. This would be side, angle, side. Here I have vertical angles. So that'd be side, angle, side. Same thing, vertical angles again, which gives me a side, angle, side. Here I have a shared side, which gives me angle, side, side. No good. Another thing for you to try. Here I have a shared side. Oop. Here I have a shared side. All right, so if I was given these two triangles and I wanted to determine if they were congruent, there's a few things I would need. If I was going to prove angle, side, angle, I would need to know if angle B was congruent to angle D. If I was going to do side, angle, side, I would need AC congruent to FE. And if I was going to do angle, angle, side, I would need angle A congruent to angle F. So we have to be really careful when we're writing these statements because the order has to correspond with the order of the triangles that I've been given. So I could say DEF to NLM because D and N line up. DE and NL line up. So NL, DE, angle E and angle L match, they're corresponding. So that only leaves us with F and M to be corresponding. So you'll notice they gave us a different triangle name at the beginning, but when I'm writing this congruence statement, I have to make sure the order corresponds. And that's going to be true with everything we do in this unit. Hypotenuse leg is a super special case. This is only relevant if we have a right triangle. So if I know that the hypotenuse or hypotenuses, or however you want to say it, both hypotenuse on each triangle, if they're congruent and one of the legs is congruent, the corresponding leg, then those triangles are congruent. So last practice, go through these, take a moment, see if you can tell if they are or are not congruent, and if they are, see if you can tell me why. So pause and then come back in just a minute. And then hopefully you agree with these congruence statements. So I have two that are not congruent. This is angle, 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 and this is angle, side, side, so those are no good. Other than that, all the rest of these were congruent.